No social taboos or cultural traditions affect him yet, so where you stand with him. When he's angry, he's angry. But it's if we work it off instead of bottling it up. Because he doesn't hide it, it passes. His system is cleared out. And he responds quickly and wholeheartedly to cheerfulness and affection in other people. When he is happy, he is complete. No worrisome memories or vague forebodings bother him. That's what... As the baby grows, his emotions change. At first, he cries from internal causes, such as hunger. Later, he becomes more from external causes. And so as children grow, they respond differently to the same treatment. This baby objects to getting his shoes on. The toddler may be glad of assistance. The 6-year-old will lose his temper because he thinks he can do it better himself. Because the child's emotions are so intense and changeable, it's often hard to understand them. But if we can see things from his point of view, it will help. For instance, curiosity is a natural state for the baby. Suppose you were in his place. What is it? Why does Daddy like them? What does it taste like? What noise does it make? What if you pull the cloth? Why will it grow? Why won't it grow? What will she do if you run away? How does it work? What does it mean? What? Why? But where? The only way to deal with curiosity is to satisfy it. Don't touch deprives him of his most valuable source of information. But there are some things he can't figure out, and so success in his quest for knowledge depends on the adults around him. Children's thought processes are different from adults because so many of their concepts are incomplete and vague. They don't ask questions just to annoy, they really want to know. Finally, understanding dawns, and they can find some of the answers for themselves. Curiosity in children should be encouraged because it nourishes the very roots of education. Fear is a more sinister emotion. Because it can affect development, it should be prevented. What is there to frighten babies? Well, suppose you were 6 months old. You've been used to a quiet room.
Now, wasn't that a good fix, Sandy? Now, you were such a good little boy, I'm going to show you another one.
Why doesn't he just show you pictures?
That's a shooter.
Now you're growing up. You're not so much afraid of noises and people. Sometimes they make faces at you, but if you keep quiet, they go away. Wish the milkman didn't bring that horse every morning. Must get into Mommy quick. Bill is bringing his new puppy. Will it bite? You don't want to read that animal book anymore. Now you're 6, not afraid of baby things. It's kind of fun to be a little scared. Wouldn't go down cellar alone, though, ever since Aunt Betty said there were rats down there that would bite you. Wouldn't go upstairs alone at night, either. You don't like darkness. No use calling Mommy. She'll say it's just a dream, nothing at all. What's that? Don't move. It might be something. You wish that cupboard door was closed. Might be a rat in there, too. Now you're 10. Not so much afraid at night. Mom leaves the door open and the light on in the hall since you asked her to. There's nothing in that closet. Wish you'd closed it, though. You can't hear anything. Can't hear Mommy and Daddy breathing. Maybe they're dead. Someday they will die. You'd like to get into Mom's bed, but you're afraid to get out of your own. Thunder. Mom will close the window. She's scared of thunder, too. These are typical fears of many young children. As the child grows older, most of them will disappear. But fear need not become a habit. If it does, it can ruin mental and physical health. There are many ways to prevent the fear habit in children. Strangers can come gently, with Mommy coming first to give warning. He is taught to control his surroundings as soon as he can. Noisy things are introduced at a distance. He's taught to understand what makes the noise. He's given the chance to watch the puppy with someone else for a while first. The kind gentleman realizes that his laugh could be frightening to a small child. He's given reassurance when he needs it. And above all, Mother is unafraid and cheerfully sympathetic in emergencies. Aunt Betty takes him down cellar with her, instead of using fear as an easy way of making him obedient. And so as he grows up, there is very little to be afraid of. Anger is another emotion which begins very early in life. There are so many things that don't go the way you want them to. You know, it's infuriating to be stuck here on your stomach and not be able to turn over. If you get angry enough and cry loud enough, somebody usually comes to do something for you. But why does she always have to change your pants instead of picking you up? And you get angry at things as well as people. And as you get older, you have to do even more things you don't want to do, sitting here when you don't even want to go to the bathroom. And they're always taking things away from you. They give you toys that won't stand up. Other people snatch things you are just going to play with. They are always bothering you when you want to be left alone, and then leaving you alone when you'd rather stay with them. They'll wash your face every chance they get. And they're always pulling tight clothes over your ears. They play with that big paper, and if you try to play too, they just get cross. Or if they don't read, they just talk and talk a lot of sounds that don't mean anything. The worst of it is, they don't think you can decide anything for yourself. If they don't watch out, getting angry will become a habit, and then you won't do anything for them, even if it's something that you don't really care about. Now you're growing up, and you can get angry just as well as they can. That'll show her. And when you're older, they yakety-yak all the time.
And you're acting like a child of 5.
Hurry up or you'll be late for school again. You've just got to tidy up this room. It's been getting worse and worse for a week. No, you can't go to the game. The Browns are taking us on a picnic.
Can't a person even do what he wants to on Saturdays? There are ways in which anger can be prevented from becoming a habit, too. At this age, the best antidote is diversion. Then comes sympathy for the baby's inability to do things for himself. And understanding of the intensity of his wants. Training is hard for a baby. Let him know that you are with him and not against him. Maybe he didn't have to go after all. Let him take the initiative whenever possible. You can always rinse it off after he washes. And that matter of toys, they should work. They should fit. And they should stand up if they're supposed to. You know, it's really simpler to put the paper away for 10 minutes. Daddy should realize that there is a proper time for playing. And Sonny will realize that there is a proper time for newspaper reading. That friction with the older child can best be avoided by cooperation until good habits are established. It takes 2 to make a quarrel, and must he go to the picnic? After all, democracy begins at home. Jealousy is a withering emotion. It always involves people, usually much loved ones. Often it is caused by the fear of losing someone's affection. When you're little, you're the most important person in the world, and Mother comes next. You have all of her attention, and the more you've had, and the longer you've had it, the more you want it. How would you feel if this happened to you?
I can't look at it now, dear. The baby needs her bath. Not now, darling. I have to feed the baby. Not just now, dear. I have to iron the baby's dress.
You just have old overalls to wear. You're supposed to eat that stuff by yourself. Just let her touch one of your toys. You'll get even with her. But you can be jealous of other people, too.
Good night, Sonny. Now you be a good boy and go to sleep. Mommy and I are going out.
Good night, darling. Sleep well.
And you have to go to bed while your big brother reads comics half the night. And the fact that he understands football and you don't doesn't make it any easier to be left behind. It can happen to you at school, too, especially if you have a really swell teacher. That big show-off is the teacher's pet just because he makes better grades than you do. Jimmy always plays with Pete now because they have bikes. Jealousy is hard to deal with because it goes pretty deep. Sometimes it is slow burning and hidden. Sometimes in younger children it flares up. This is easier to handle because you can recognize it. But jealousy may be there when nobody knows it's there. Almost every child feels it at some time. It's better if he is prepared for the new arrival beforehand. And letting him help with the little sister will make him part of the team. Somehow or other, he must get his own share of attention. And equal rights are important. There are times when the baby's bath is not nearly as urgent as a minor repair to a toy. And mother must try to have a real understanding of each child's needs. But the most frequent emotion of all should be happiness. It is founded partly on physical well-being, and he is more likely to be happy if he is relaxed and rested. If he is secure in the knowledge that there is someone to take care of him in times of trouble. And to appreciate his personal achievements in times of peace. He is sure of his own importance as he grows up. Yet he is not undisciplined. There are rules, but they are reasonable and consistent. He reaches the end of adulthood with a capacity for happiness that has grown with him from babyhood. Because babyhood is fun, and his happiness and affection reach out to everybody he knows. In the beginning, food and warmth and love are very close together. This is perfect contentment. And when he's 2, it's just good to be alive. It's true that he can best express his affection if mother meets him at his own level. There are so many things to be happy about. There are games. And jokes. You're so clever when you're 2. There's satisfaction in doing things. And so many kinds of friends, some you find outside. And some that go everywhere, even to bed with you. Some like Aunt Marge that you only see once in a while. And best of all, there's love. Because you see, providing the material equipment for childhood is not enough. There are emotions too, some good and some bad. And by being truly happy with them, we give to our children their best chance of enduring happiness.
Somebody called it. It was Canadian. Crawley Films was Canadian. Hi, everybody. I'm Skip Alzheimer. Welcome to our lunchtime streaming event. AV Geeks is a giant archive of educational films, and I collect them so that I can show them. And normally, I'd have a projector in the actual 60mm films, and we would show them at your local bar, club, theater, gallery, museum, or in one case, actually at a sausage factory. But unfortunately, because of the pandemic, we are bunkered down in our basement, and I'm showing you films via the internet, of which we have a couple thousand digitized, and we've only watched maybe 440 so far since we started in mid-March. So thanks for tuning in. That last film was Children's Emotions. Let me just tell you, having an adult narrator talking about the... Oh, my phone is ringing. Let me squelch that. Having an adult narrator narrating the thoughts of a child and the questions a child asks is your best entertainment value by far. The line, will my parents stop breathing? Are my parents dead? It just gets me every single time. Really amazing film about child development, and very thoughtful. The other part of this, of course, some of you on Facebook are seeing that a woman named Bonnie Hillier is commenting. That is my mother, and she's commenting on particularly traumatic things that happened in my childhood live. So thanks, Mom. Thanks for mentioning the traumatic haircut that I got that was documented on audio cassette. Video footage, film footage of that does not exist, thankfully. Anyways, I love my mom. She's great. She gets what I do. All right, where are we? Oh, yeah. Here's a film. It's very similar to the other management films that we have shown that were made by Calvin and made for Alcoa Management. But this one is actually made by another company called BNA, or Norwood Films. And they made a lot of industrials for the government and some of the driest management films you can imagine. So let's see where this falls. This is Instruction or Obstruction.
That's the way he wants it. What do you think?
No, I'm not paid to think, but it sure looks screwy to me. I wonder why he wants this easel way down here, and why nobody gets a chair to sit on. What's going on, a meeting or a dance?
All I know is this Dr. Pigos is a VIP, and they're going to want everything to be right.
Well, where is he?
He got called to the phone in Burns' office.
Well, we've done what he said, but it don't make sense to stack all those chairs.
Want to say again, Dr. Pigos? What's this?
I'm sorry, Burns. This won't do at all. You know this room is supposed to be set up for a meeting.
What have you done here, Chuck? You know we're expecting 20 men here for a meeting.
We just did what we were told.
You were told the easel over here in the corner. That's what the man said. And he told you to leave a box here in the middle of the floor where people can stumble over. And then did that in one corner. We're going to have 20 men here?
This is a good joke on me.
What do you mean?
Here I've come to talk to your supervisors on how to give orders and instructions, and I've struck out already.
But I don't understand. What did...
It's all right, Vern. We still got 20 minutes. And I can make something of this horrible snafu by holding myself up as a bad example.
Oh, but I distinctly heard you tell the men.
What did I tell them? Why is it that whenever orders go wrong, we automatically turn to the people who receive them? What we need to do is to turn to the person who gave them, in this case, me. Chuck, what did I ask you to do?
You said you wanted 3 chairs at the table, and we could stack the rest of them in the corner.
But he meant the ones left over. You ought to know, with men coming here for a meeting...
Ah, but how many? Maybe I wanted them standing up at the beginning. But why the easel way down there?
You said to put the box at one end and the easel at the other.
And that's where you put them. How were you supposed to know I didn't mean the other end of the room, but the other end of the table?
We'll fix that quick.
Never mind. Well, no harm has been done here, but every day in industries, offices, and plants wherever people work together, incalculable harm is done by people giving obstructions instead of instructions.
If you tell us what you want, Dr. Pigors, we'll be glad to fix it.
Well, at least one thing is going right.
What's that?
We got what we're after in any order-giving situation. Voluntary cooperation. Our friends here really want to set things right. But supposing, after I took that phone call in the office, I come back into the room this way. What kind of a setup is this? Don't you guys know we got to have chairs for this meeting? I told you what to do. Don't you ever get anything right? Now snap into it and get that easel over here by the table and get those chairs and set them up for the meeting. You've heard orders given that way before, haven't you?
Sort of like that.
I have.
How do you feel when people boss you around like that?
Well, I don't feel good, but I do it. I don't want to lose my job.
Exactly.
Like the hobo said to the cop when he told him to keep moving. I will, but I don't hanker to.
That's good. I will, but I don't hanker to. I got to remember that.
The way I figure it, sounding off like that, you can get guys to work for you. But if you want them to work with you, in cooperation, like you were saying, you've got to get to them from inside yourself, not just because you're the boss. Isn't that right, Pete?
Sure. The one guy in the world you can't bamboozle is the guy that works under you.
I guess a lot of the cooperation we get is what you might call antagonistic cooperation. The kind that man gives not because he wants to, but because he has to keep his job.
That's bad enough. But it can also lead to what we call malicious obedience. Let's suppose I work here for one of these order-giving bosses, and I've had it up to here. Let's suppose this box contains some expensive parts for assembly. I just work here. And the boss comes along. Hey, you, get rid of that box before some fool trips over it and hurts himself. And do it now. And the boss moves on. I just work here. And this is the chance I've been waiting for. The boss says, get rid of that box. I'll get rid of it, all right. In the trash can.
Then, when you're called up for discipline, you just play dumb.
Sure. How are you to know there was anything valuable in that box? You were just obeying orders. And the boss gets the blame.
And he'll get it again and again until he learns that the way he gives his orders and instructions will determine his success as a supervisor. In my talk, I'm going to show how every order, no matter how simple it is made up of 7 distinct steps. First, planning. You have to decide what action is required and then who should act. That is, the order receiver must be someone who has the ability to carry out the order. Sounds simple, doesn't it? But you have no idea how often the right order is given to the wrong man. And lastly, you plan what kind of order you'll use. Take off your shirt. You see, immediate resistance to the wrong kind of order.
Oh, I know. I will, but I don't hanker to.
Well, actually, I want to demonstrate something, and I'd appreciate it if you'd take off your shirt. Do you mind?
Glad to.
You see the difference? Now he's cooperating. The second step in order giving is preparing the order receiver. Let me show you why that is so important. You're going to have a chest x-ray taken. Now, what I would like to have you do is to step right up to this frame, put your hands behind your back, raise your chin, and when I say don't move, stand perfectly still. Understand?
I get it.
All right. Don't move. In one plant, where orders were given that way, more than half the films were unusable. Do you see why?
No, I don't.
Because he's breathing.
You didn't say not to breathe.
Exactly. Order receivers have to be prepared. They have to understand that the order don't move means don't even breathe. That's why they changed the order to take a deep breath. Hold it. Don't move. Thank you. You may dress now.
You're talking about what the armed forces used to call a briefing.
Right. You need to explain, relate the order to the objective, give the why of it. Often you'll have to explain the what and the how of the needed action. Now you're ready to present the order. The fewer words you use, the better, as long as the order is complete. And the way you speak can be just as important as what you say. Remember, you want to get voluntary cooperation. The fourth step is to verify. Now here's where you try to make sure the order receiver understands what's expected of him and is ready to do what needs to be done. Here's where I goofed in my instructions before going to answer the phone, right? The fifth step is action. If you follow the other steps properly, you will undoubtedly get the desired action.
If.
A big if. And we're not through yet. You will have to follow up. Especially with standing orders, things may change. Maybe the order needs to be modified or a new order given. I'll need a helper to demonstrate this in the meeting. How about it?
Sure, what do I do?
Let's put this box on the table where everybody can see it. I got this example from an article by Robert B. Ross. It happened in a plant that was making a delicate electronic part called a capacitor. The part contained a certain powder, and the order went out that any man handling this powder must wear gloves or use the scoop. Never touch the powder with bare hands. Now, after many field failures and rejects, they finally followed up on that order. And they came to you, Chuck, handling this powder in the supply room. You've heard the order, haven't you?
Yep. Never touch the powder with my bare hands. Always use a scoop.
That's right. But we find you're not using the scoop. You're dishing out the powder with your bare hands. Go ahead. Now, I'm the manager, and I come up to you and say, "Hey, what do you think you're doing? You've been told not to use your bare hands, haven't you?"
Sure, but I've been using my hands for over a week now, and it doesn't hurt them a bit.
Well, what happened to him? Did it burn his hands?
Ah, the same mistake he made, a perfectly natural mistake. He thought the order was given to protect his hands. You see, the perspiration in a man's hands contains enough salt to contaminate the powder and ruin the capacitor.
They should have explained that. Better briefing, as you say.
Of course they should. And more important, quicker and better follow-up would have spotted the trouble before so much damage was done. Now, there's only one last step on my chart, a logical follow-up to follow-up. It's appraising, asking yourself how you're doing, judging how effectively both order giver and order receiver have functioned throughout the whole process in relation to needed results. That's what we got to keep asking ourselves. Where and how could we do better?
It's nearly time for the meeting, Dr. Pigoris. Hadn't we better get the room in order?
No, Vern. Let's leave it the way it is. By starting off with a demonstration of what happened when I gave faulty instructions, I hope to avoid even seeming to pose as the expert.
I hope it'll work.
Why not? If you want to, you can always learn from your own mistakes.
What's that German guy doing there? It's a really great film. It's it's a management film, but still it's really kind of fascinating. Somebody wanted me to boost my mic volume, so let me do that while I'm talking to you. Let's see if I can get this to work. Hopefully this is not too much. We'll see what happens. Yeah, so anyways, the BNA, Bureau of National Affairs, which I think was not a government agency, but it was a company that made management films and management instruction stuff. So don't be fooled. This next film talks about how big our world is, and it tries to explain that concept to kids. So here's Big World.
This is part of a toy. When you see this much of it, can you guess what shape it is? Look at it again. Now can you tell that it is round? When we see only a small part of the beach ball, we can only guess what it is. But when we see enough of something, we can tell what it is. Vicky and her family live near the ocean. She and her sister often come to play on the beach. Mother helps them to play safely. Little sister wants to play in the water. Vicky often wonders about many things. Someone has told her the earth is round. Today, she wonders about its roundness. She can see cliffs, rocks, and some of the ocean. But the world doesn't look round. She wonders if the shape of the world will look different if she climbs higher. From here, she can see more of the land and more of the ocean. But the earth does not look round. She wonders what the world looks like from an airplane. When the pilot looks out of his plane, he sees more of the earth and more of the ocean. But still, he sees only a small part of the big world. Even from high in the sky, he cannot see enough of the earth to tell what shape it is. Vicky has a lot to think about on the way home. Vicky asks her father why the world doesn't look round like the beach ball. From where they are sitting, they can see only a small part of it. Housetops, beach, and ocean. If they could see enough of the world, it would look round. Round like the beach ball. The ball is small enough so Vicky can see its shape. The Earth is so very big, she cannot see enough of it to tell that it is round. Father promises he will bring her a surprise that will help her understand this. The next night, Father brings home the surprise. It is a world globe. The globe is a small model of the big world, just as the play barn is a small model of a big barn. There are many things to learn about our world. It is made up of land and water. Father asks Vicky if she can guess which color shows the part that is water. The blue is the water. Father says that all the water is not in the ocean. Some of the water is in streams, rivers, and lakes. The other colors on the globe show the part that is the land. Father and Vicky find the tiny place on the world globe where they live. Vicky asks where Cousin David lives. She wonders what that part of the world looks like. Father tells her about the part of the world where David lives. David's home is near a large lake. Around the lake are many trees. In his part of the world, there are big, high mountains. They are covered with snow in the winter. Even in summer, some of the snow stays on the mountain peaks. David and his father often go fishing on the lake. David has many things to wonder about in his part of the world. He asks his father where the water comes from that fills the lake. Father tells him the water comes from the snow on the high mountains. When the snow melts, it changes to water. The water makes many streams, like this one. The small streams join together to make a big stream. When the water runs over a cliff, it makes a waterfall. All the streams join together to make a river that fills the lake. David says the lake is like a big bowl. It catches all the water that comes down from the mountains. David's part of the world is very different from the place where Vicky lives. Vicky hopes someday she can visit David and go for a boat ride on the lake. Now Vicky remembers her vacation on Grandfather's farm. She asks her father to help her find that place on the world globe. On the farm, there were flatlands and low hills. Grandfather told her flatland is good for farming. Vicky watched the workers cut and pack the lettuce for market. Vicky has learned many interesting things. The round world is very big. She can see only a small part of it at a time. The world is made of many different kinds of land and water. Far away where David lives, there are lakes and high mountains. Where Grandfather lives, the land is flat with low hills. Near Vicky's home are cliffs, rocks, sand, and ocean. Wherever you live, there are many wonderful things to learn about our beautiful, big world.
Glorious, beautiful footage. I hate to tell everybody, we live on a globe. We live on a sphere. The world is not flat. Sorry. Sorry that I've destroyed your belief system in spite of everything scientific. Sorry. This next film is it's about tank ships. It's really interesting. Occasionally, educational films talk about transportation. They talk about ways that things get from point A to point B. And this one is very specific in talking about tank ships. I have some that talk about trains, trucks, but this one is kind of fascinating. So here we go. The tank ship.
Many of the things we use, things found in neighborhood shops everywhere, come to us from far away. Everyone depends on gasoline and oil products. We certainly do in this country, just as people do in other countries throughout the world. Although every country in the world uses oil, it is found in its natural state only in certain places. Here, natural oil, called crude oil, is brought up from the depths of the earth. But before it can be used, it must be transported to refineries, where the crude oil is turned into the many products so familiar to us all. Ships are used to transport a great deal of crude oil and finished oil products, especially when sent from one country to another. These big ships, called tank ships, are built much different from most cargo vessels. Most of the cargo space is divided into huge tanks, designed especially for carrying liquid cargo. Heavy steel walls keep the contents of one tank from mixing with another. At many places, tank ships load and unload their cargoes at a wharf that reaches out into a harbor. Near the wharf, there is often a refinery where oil products are produced from crude oil. Storage tanks that hold either crude oil or finished oil products are also located nearby. Pipes lead from the storage tanks out to the wharf. They carry the liquid cargoes back and forth from ship to shore. A tank ship is a big, bulky vessel. Loaded with crude oil, it's maneuvered gently into the wharf. Tugboats help in this difficult operation. The tank ship and its cargo weighs many tons. It could easily damage the wharf unless it is eased very gently into docking position. Then the big ship is tied to the wharf. Heavy rubber hoses are hoisted up onto the ship's deck. The other end of each hose is connected to a pipe on the wharf. The hose is bolted to a pipe on deck. When the connection is secure, a valve is opened, allowing the crude oil to be pumped out of the big ship's separate tanks. The oil is forced through the hoses by pumps on the ship. It travels through perhaps several miles of steel pipes. The pipes lead eventually to the storage area behind the wharf. It takes about 24 hours to unload the entire cargo of a large tank ship. Loading a tank ship is just the opposite of unloading. The liquid cargo flows or is pumped out through the steel pipes. It goes through the heavy hoses to the ship. When fully loaded, the hoses are disconnected in preparation for sailing, perhaps a journey of many weeks to some far-off port. Once the big vessel is underway, the captain is responsible for the safety of his ship and crew. He keeps a careful watch from the ship's bridge and directs the helmsman, who steers the vessel on a proper course out of port. The captain has many duties. His skill as the master of an ocean-going vessel is acquired through study, as well as through his years of experience at sea. One important duty is to plot a course or route for his ship to travel. The route must be as direct as possible, but equally important, it must be a safe one. The routes of his tank ship and other tank ships cover the world. For example, some tank ships carry finished products all the way across the Pacific Ocean to Japan. From Sumatra and other Far Eastern countries, crude oil is carried to the United States and elsewhere. A great deal of crude oil comes from Middle Eastern sources. Sometimes it travels up through the Suez Canal to refineries in Europe. Some tank ships carry it to markets in the United States. Tank ship routes crisscross the oceans as they carry both crude oil and finished products wherever they're needed around the world. Some journeys take but a few days. Others last for many weeks across thousands of miles of open sea. On the bridge, a ship's officer is constantly on watch. He's always alert for other ships or the danger of floating objects in the water. Another officer keeps a check on the cargo. He adds up the weight in each tank. Oil products vary in weight, although they occupy the same space. The cargo weight must be evenly distributed so that the ship will remain properly balanced during loading and unloading and while at sea. The chief engineer and his assistant, deep in the engine room, carefully check instruments which show how the ship's engine is operating. They control the ship's speed on orders from either the captain or the officer on the bridge. It takes a lot of men doing a lot of different jobs to operate a tank ship at sea. The ship's radio officer sends and receives messages in Morse code, a series of dots and dashes which, when decoded, spell out words. The radio officer decodes a message directly. Messages from shore to ship tell about weather conditions, cargo information, docking conditions, and other business matters. Every ship has its cook. His job is an important one, too, for it takes a lot of groceries and a lot of work to feed 30 or more men 3 times a day. And like sailors everywhere, tank ship seamen develop big appetites from active work in the good, fresh ocean air. At night, the tank ship continues its journey. A careful lookout is kept by the officer on watch. All modern ships have several mechanical aids which are especially valuable at night. High up on the ship's mast, the radar antenna revolves. It sends and receives electrical impulses which are sent down to the radar scope on the bridge. Other ships, land or floating objects, appear as white masses in the radar scope. The ship's position is in the center of the scope. Here, the radar shows land directly ahead and to the right or starboard side. And an object that appears to be another ship is directly behind. Radar is a great aid in navigating the tank ship to its destination safely. Seamen off duty are free to do as they please, day or night. And on a tank ship, there's always time for a rematch in a good game of chess. The welcome sight of land means that the port of call is near. A tank ship may stop at a port where there is no dock. Here, cargo is handled by means of an underwater pipe. A hose connected from the tank ship to the underwater pipe carries the liquid cargo back or forth from ship to shore. A tank ship's port of call might be to an oil-producing area where crude oil will be loaded aboard. Or its port of call might be to a coastal refinery, or to a village or town in a faraway place. A tank ship might call on a big port, such as the one at San Francisco, or New York, or Houston. It might be to a foreign country, such as Norway, or Venezuela, or Hong Kong. All the oceans of the world provide roads for tank ships as they carry this essential product from where it is found to where it is used.
Wow. I like it. You just go down that little rabbit hole of tank ships. And it's kind of riveting for me. I dig watching shows like that on cable television. Back when I had cable television, just sitting and just absorbing all the information about this type of vessel and what you use it for, and what are the considerations for it, and all that stuff. And certainly our economy, world economy, has changed because of ships that carry containers. Container ships that's been the game changer that changed every aspect of how products get from point A to point B, and in both a positive and a negative way. And I'm reminded of the container ship that was filled with little rubber duckies, and then how occasionally, depending on how the tidal Gulf Stream was affected, like rubber duckies would show up at these different shorelines. So I want to say thank you to Havaham, who tunes in and has been watching us for probably since the beginning. He gave us some coffee. Thank you so much. You can buy me coffee. Oh, wrong way. All right. Here. That is a way to directly contribute to the AV Geeks brain and neurological system by contributing caffeine, the drug of choice at AV Geeks. Also, you can donate at Patreon or avgeeks.com. So he made a request. He was interested in a Jerry Fairbanks film, and I can't always fulfill requests. I try to when I can, and sometimes I can't do it the day of. It might take a day or two to kind of track down a film, but it just happens he asked for something that I had handy, and is also just amazing, and I'm amazed that I haven't shown it yet. Some of you might have seen this in the past, but this is an amazing film that I got on eBay, and it's made for Sherwin-Williams by Jerry Fairbanks. And Jerry Fairbanks, a lot of the films feature animation, and this one is kind of a combination of animation and the premise is fascinating. And also, it talks about our favorite chemical, DDT. And a couple of weeks ago, I showed Joy of Living with Fragrance, where a woman covered every inch of her house with some sort of Avon product. This is basically covering every inch of your house with some sort of DDT preparation. And it is horrifying. So this is, thank you, Jerry. And again, you like what you saw, you can donate. At the very least, just, say that you like it. And I can't always guarantee that I'm going to be able to fulfill your requests. And I'm not doing this pay-for-play type of thing. This isn't some sort of payola where, oh, he gave me coffee, so I need to be nice to him. But anyways. Yeah, so here's Doomsday for Pests. Enjoy.
Flash, death came today to Sylvester S. Silverfish. In excellent health and spirits at midnight, he accidentally walked across a door sill treated with pest-destroy DDT. An hour later, he was dead. 15,863 members of his immediate family survive him today.
Too bad about J.B.
Distressing. Terribly distressing. Took the easy way out, poor fellow.
Messy?
No, not messy at all. Very clean, very fast, very sure. Simply told his friends goodbye and then hopped on a Cocker Spaniel, dusted with pest-destroy activated powder. Distressing. Terribly distressing.
Today, disaster stalks the insect world. The greatest catastrophe in bug history has befallen insects. At great risk to their lives, our newsreel cameramen have compiled photographic proof. This is their grim story. It begins with the war-born development of DDT. This diabolical weapon of modern science saved millions of humans, but killed billions of insects. Man, with this newly discovered force, has at long last gained the upper hand in our age-old struggle. Just like these mosquito larvae, we have no defense. No longer can ants, for example, have things pretty much their own way as they've always had down through the ages. No longer is the world safe for bugocracy. These are indeed dark days. The really heavy blow fell only a few months ago. It came from laboratories where top scientists from famous universities and from industrial and government organizations collaborated to develop something new and different. They succeeded. They perfected pest-destroy, the most effective weapon man has ever wielded against insects. Effective because it plugs up all the loopholes that kept us alive in the past. To begin with, this new pest killer is a DDT preparation. We realize what that means. Once a bug comes in contact with DDT, he's lost. All he has to do is just walk on any pest-destroy-treated surface. DDT is absorbed through the feet and spreads throughout the insect's entire nervous system. The effect is disastrous. DDT seems to literally drive bugs crazy. But not for long. DDT next paralyzes, then kills. In both its forms, powder and liquid, pest-destroy means doomsday to us insects. For this new insect destroyer contains a lot of DDT, not just a little. Its DDT content is even higher than government specifications. But the really sure kill feature of this insect killer isn't simply that it contains DDT, it's the way that it makes sure that bugs get the DDT that's in it. For example, take this liquid form, pest-destroy DDT synthetic resin coating, ideal for vertical surfaces. It's brushed on easily and quickly and dries in half an hour. It forms a clear, long-lasting protective coating, scarcely noticeable on most surfaces. Other preparations, sprays for instance, not only irritate the nasal passages and fog up the atmosphere, but quickly lose their effectiveness as the fog is dissipated. As a result, spraying must be repeated time after time. But not so with this. Pest-destroy goes right where it should go to kill insects. And once applied, it keeps right on killing them, week after week, month after month. Here's why. It's compounded with a new type of synthetic resin which binds DDT to any surface, makes it cling, keeps it from brushing off or blowing away. After application, DDT particles form at the surface of the coating, right where the insects walk, creating a long-lasting booby trap for insects. crystals stay put. They are densely matted, not spindly and loosely knit, not easily shaken off or blown away. As a result, Pestroy works. And here's proof, an actual laboratory test. The flies in the Pestroy-treated cage on the left are out of luck. Watch. Within 5 minutes, a handful of them are knocked out. Within another 10, most of them are goners. And at the end of 25 minutes, all of them are dead or dying. Just to make the case airtight, here's the same test repeated months later with the identical Pestroy-coated cage. It kills, as you can see, just as effectively as it did before. Perhaps even more so, since additional DDT crystals continue to form at the surface as time goes on, increasing the total lethal effect.
There must be a catch to it. Maybe Pestroy hurts humans, too.
No, sir. It harms only us, the citizens of Bugdom. Used right, it is absolutely harmless to humans and animals. But to insects, it is deadly. For example, moths who do such a thorough job of destroying clothes. Cockroaches, famous for completely upsetting an otherwise immaculate house. Flies, known throughout history for spreading disease. Mosquitoes, who have made man miserable since the beginning of time. Silverfish are seldom seen, but evidence of their destructiveness is everywhere. Being book lovers, they enjoy devouring books or anything containing glue or starch, and they seem to live forever. Ants, symbol of industry and famous for their ability to take over an entire house in a matter of hours. Pestroy liquid coating can be applied wherever insects are found, around doorways, for instance. On screens, where it not only kills insects, but also tends to keep the screen wire from rusting. In lockers, where bugs always go in search of food or clothing. On fruit and vegetable stands. In cupboards, the happy hunting grounds for all types of insects. On tables and benches at picnic grounds. In and around basement drains. Garbage and refuse receptacles of all kinds. Cabins and galleys of boats. Anywhere and everywhere bugs like to go. The same deadly effectiveness of the liquid form is found in the Pestroy powder, another constant threat to insect life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. This particular preparation is recommended for horizontal surfaces. It is so easy to apply because of a new efficient dispenser package. All people have to do is to press the patented top like this. It's a handful of concentrated death. This powder is truly activated. It contains stabilized pyrethrum, an ingredient which literally stampedes insects from their hiding places to bring them into contact with DDT, indoors or outdoors. Stirs them up, drives them out of cracks and crevices, places that hitherto have been home sweet home for insects. Yes, it gets in where DDT can really do a thorough job. And it's perfect for ridding Fido of those unwelcome house guests. This new activated DDT powder also comes in a large pump-type dispenser that's sure death for insects over large areas outdoors. It's made to order for around wood piles, barbecues, patios, house foundations, and so forth. Anywhere and everywhere, people want to make outdoor life around home more comfortable. It's also good for use on swamps and pools of stagnant water. Campsites and wherever else bugs like to breed and gather. So there you have it, the most important facts about this most important development. Remember the name, Pestroy DDT. It spells certain death to all insects I've mentioned so far, and others too. And I know what I'm talking about. I, your reporter, have been there, and I have seen them die. Cockroaches, moths, mosquitoes, wasps, carpet beetles, bed bugs, and on down a long, long list. Pestroy cannot miss, and we insects cannot escape. Remember and take warning. Pestroy kills insects.
I don't believe it. There's more of us bugs than people. How can we lose?
Pestroy attack. Pestroy attack. Repeat. Pestroy attack. Pestroy attack.
Come on, Ledoux.
Repeat. Pestroy attack.
So, wow. I'm a big fan of that film because it's a sponsored film. It's a promotional film for this product. And it's a product that, you know, DDT had some health benefits, or had some benefits as far as mosquito populations and other types of populations. But as you can see, way over the top. It's insane the amount of that product that they're using. And Pestroy, I think, was DDT plus something else, which increased the efficacy of it, which in itself could potentially make it even more dangerous. We've had a lot of DDT, and it doesn't really go away. It's still around in the dirt and obviously in paint and on screen doors. And it just doesn't go away. And so I think there's negative effects in that. I'm not sure. You know, do some reading. Look it up. Look up DDT and the value of it, and also the problems associated with it, because it's not an easy thing. But I did research on this film, and this was shown in Sherwin-Williams stores and people that carried Sherwin-Williams products all over the United States. It was a promotional film. The idea was they were launching this new product. They were trying to get people to buy it. Sherwin-Williams traditionally did paint, but this was another thing that they were trying to capitalize on that they had. I don't think they had developed it. I think they bought it or licensed it from somebody. And so you'll see, when you do research, you'll see newspaper articles that mention it, or newspaper ads that mention that they're showing a new film. And so the idea is that, you know, you would get an invitation to come to your Sherwin-Williams distributor and watch this film and learn about how great this is, and how it can positively affect the insects that are taking over your home. I have another one that came with this, which is for a Weed Be Gone, which is another type of, it's a herbicide, and it's, pours this thing all in your lawn and, causes weeds to wither. I'm not sure what's in that. Probably paraquat or something like that. But yeah, I really delight in showing you these films. Because they're part of our past, and this. I don't know who else has this film, and I don't know when else people would see this, but this is our history, and it affects us in a positive and in a negative way. And I appreciate you guys, Geek Artists. Thank you so much for the coffee donation. That will help wake me up tomorrow morning. And thanks to all of you for tuning in and commenting and letting me tell you that the world is actually round and not flat. And we will talk again tomorrow. So join us at 1 o'clock for some more educational films. I had actually a couple lined up that I didn't even show. And I just did kind of a count, and I have thousands of films that we could be showing. And we've only seen... Wow, only 426. I was wrong. I thought it was 440. We've only seen 426, so we got a ways to go. So thank you for joining us on this voyage, this excursion into 16mm film. And I will see you again soon. Take care.